All right, so we're back and ready for another deep dive. And today we're going to be looking at the upcoming Arsenal-Nottingham Forest match. You guys sent in some really good articles for this one.
Yeah, some interesting stuff for sure.
For sure. I mean, it's kind of a surprising matchup in a way because, if you just look at the table, these teams are actually level on points,
Right.
which most people, I think, wouldn't have predicted at the start of the season.
No, not at
Yeah.
all. I think most people had Arsenal pegged for, at least top six, maybe even pushing for top four.
Right.
Forest, I think most people thought would be, struggling down at the bottom.
Yeah, fighting relegation for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of the Premier League, right? You just never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. So let's start by talking about some of the big storylines going into this one. And I think one of the biggest has to be Arsenal's injury woes.
Yeah, Arteta has got to be concerned about the fitness of his squad right now.
Yeah, the articles mentioned that Captain Ødegaard just came back from injury.
Right.
And then over the international break, both Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka picked up knocks.
Yeah, that's a huge blow for Arsenal, especially if Saka is going to be out for any length of time.
Right.
I mean, he's the top assist provider in the Premier League right now.
Yeah, he's been on fire this season.
Yeah, and even with Ødegaard back in the side against Chelsea, they just didn't look as dangerous an attack without Saka.
Yeah, it seems like their attack is really reliant on his creativity.
Yeah, for sure. He's such a dynamic player. He can create something out of nothing.
And he's got a good track record against Forest as well.
Oh, yeah. He loves playing against them.
Seems like they haven't quite figured out how to stop him yet.
Oh, yeah, anyway.
Well, let's shift gears a bit and talk about Nottingham Forest because it's honestly pretty remarkable to see them level on points with Arsenal at this stage of the season.
Yeah, they've been exceeding expectations for sure.
Especially their away form. It's been impressive. They've been picking up results even against, the big six teams.
Yeah, I mean, that draw against Manchester City earlier this season was a real statement.
That was a huge result for them, and it shows that they're not intimidated by anyone.
Exactly. They're well organized defensively, and they're not afraid to be aggressive on the counter.
And they've got a real goal threat in Chris Wood.
Oh, yeah, he's been fantastic this season.
The articles were highlighting his scoring record. I mean, he's joint second in the league in terms of goals scored.
Yeah, and he's got the best conversion rate among regular starters.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't need many chances to put the ball in the back of the net.
No, he's very clinical.
And he's also a real handful for defenders.
Mm-hmm.
He's strong in the air.
Yeah.
He holds the ball up well.
Yeah, he's a classic target man.
So you've got Arsenal potentially missing some key players. You've got Forest playing with a lot of confidence and exceeding expectations. But we also need to consider the historical context here.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, historically, this has been a fixture that Arsenal has dominated.
Yeah, they've won 6 out of their last 7 Premier League matches against Forest.
So on paper, you'd have to say that Arsenal are the favorites.
You would, but
Yeah.
there's an interesting wrinkle here.
Oh.
And that's Nuno Espirito Santo Forest's manager.
Right.
He's actually got a pretty decent record against Arsenal.
Really?
Yeah, he's only lost one of his 4 managerial visits to the Emirates.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so he clearly knows how to set up his team to frustrate Arsenal.
Okay, so this is shaping up to be a really intriguing matchup. We've got Arsenal's historical dominance, but they're dealing with injuries. And they've got Forest, who are in great form and have a manager who knows how to get results against them. I think we need to take a closer look at the tactical side of things to really get a sense of how this one might play out.
Yeah, I agree. Let's delve into the tactics a bit more after the break. I think tactically, Arsenal's injuries might force their hand a bit. Maybe make them play a bit more conservatively.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially if they're missing that creative spark in midfield from Saka. How do you think Forest will approach it, though? Do you think they'll sit back and let Arsenal have the ball?
I don't think so. They're not really a team that just sits back and defends.
Right.
Under Espirito Santo, they've shown they can adapt to different opponents.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go direct, use Wood's aerial ability. Other times they're more patient with possession. It really depends.
So they're a tough team to predict tactically, which kind of makes them even more dangerous.
For sure.
I'm curious, though, how do you think Arsenal will try to handle Wood in the air? I mean, the articles highlighted his conversion rate from crosses.
Right. Well, Arsenal could try to defend a bit deeper. Limit the space in behind for those long balls.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They might also think about zonal marking, trying to crowd the box and make it harder for Wood to get on the end of those crosses.
So it sounds like we could see a really interesting tactical battle here. Arsenal may be sitting back a bit more than usual, trying to contain Forest's direct approach, but also looking to hit them on the counter.
Exactly. And don't forget, Forest have proven they can handle playing away from home, even against the bigger teams.
Right.
They'll be well organized, very disciplined, and they'll be ready to punish any mistakes Arsenal make.
You know, it almost feels like the pressure's on Arsenal in this one.
Yeah, I can see that.
They're the ones who need the win to get back on track.
Right.
Forest, I think, can play with a bit more freedom.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. And the psychological side of things can play a big role too.
Mm.
Arsenal might feel the weight of expectation,
Yeah.
especially if they're missing some key players.
Right.
But Forest, they can go into the match full of confidence. A team that's already overachieved. I mean, look, Espirito Santo won Manager of the Month in September.
Exactly. He's built a real belief in that squad.
For sure. And it seems like he really knows how to get his teams up for these big games. I looked at his record against Arsenal.
Yeah.
7 out of the 8 matches they've played, both teams have scored.
That's interesting. So it sounds like we could be in for a really exciting end-to-end match.
I think so. It all adds up to a pretty fascinating encounter. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
Me too. We've talked about a lot here, but the big question remains, who's going to win this one? I guess we'll try to answer that question next. All right, so we've talked injuries, tactics, history. Now the big question, prediction time. What do we think? Arsenal, Nottingham Forest. Who's taking it?
Oh, man, this is a tough one. I mean, on paper, looking at history, you'd have to favor Arsenal, right? At home.
Yeah.
But you just can't ignore Forest's form. They've been exceeding expectations all season long.
It does feel like they kind of, thrive on that underdog role.
Yeah, they do. And with Arsenal's injury concerns, I mean, it's definitely a chance for them to pull off another upset.
Especially if Saka isn't fully fit.
Exactly. Even if he's not 100%, that's a big loss for Arsenal.
Yeah, this feels like one of those matches where you really could see it go either way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, both teams have a genuine chance to win. And I think that's what makes it so interesting.
Absolutely. So for me, it's not really about predicting the score line. It's more about, appreciating the different possibilities, the
Yeah.
storylines.
Yeah, I agree. It's more about the questions this match raises. Can Arsenal overcome their injuries? Can Forest continue their impressive run?
Right. What does this mean for both teams going forward? It's definitely a match with a lot of implications.
For sure. And that's what makes it so compelling. I think the most important thing for our listener is to, tune in and enjoy the match. It's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. All right, folks, so there you have it. Another deep dive in the books. We've analyzed the tactics, talked about the key players, and debated the potential outcomes. Now it's your turn. Let us know your predictions, and as always, enjoy the match.